The next piece I'll be talking about is Double Self-Portrait with a Camera. The city and country of work is New York City, New York. What? New York City, USA. Sorry. And the specific location of work is at the Belvedere in Vienna. The artist responsible for the work is Maria Lasnig, and she is an Austrian artist. The medium of work is oil on cotton, weirdly enough. The period of work is postmodernism, and the historical relevance of the work is that it was part of her very famous series of self-portraits through her study of body consciousness, a term which she coined. I can't talk, sorry. In this style, Lasnik only depicted the parts of her body that she actually felt worked and expressed through a very specific color palette. How long it took to create is unknown, but it's dated in 1974. This work is important because it offered a critique to modern artists relying on references through photography as a source material. Furthermore, it served as a reflection of how women actually feel and see themselves, as did other pieces in this series of work. Defining characteristics is that a standing full of detail, Maria stands holding a multi-lens film camera up to a mirror. In front of her sits a cross-legged version of herself in the same outfit, with her head propped on her right thigh and her face lacking much detail, including a lack of eyes. At the very top of her head, it seems to be mirroring itself in a way. The historical, and it's also like a very dark, like blue focus color palette. It's like basically all in blue except for some small details on the sitting version. The historical contributions of the artist. She was the first female artist to win the Grand Austrian State Prize in 1988, and she was awarded the Austrian Decoration for Science and Art in 2005. Lasnik is credited with helping to introduce informalism and Technisme into post-war Austrian art. In the 1950s, Lasnik was part of the Hundsgruppe dog pack group. In 1980, she returned to become a professor at the Vienna University of Applied Arts. My personal observation was, as I mentioned, the cool tones in the mirror, and then a subtle introduction of warmth to the sitting figure. You see it in her sock, very clearly red, but also her cheeks have a blush to it, despite that one being the one with the least amount of detail. I chose this work because Lasnik had like a pretty inspiring story, and she was one of the very few female artists to be included. Obviously, much of like the pre-modern stuff is male artists, so in the modern art section, it was really cool to see this giant wall filled up with just one piece of art by a woman. Especially with this cool of a story and this much influence. How does he compare to others from the period? She was a pioneer for many of the art movements during her period, particularly in Vienna and Austria. So it fits very well into the world of art which she was a part of. Pop art was also popular during this time in like the 70s, but her work didn't really touch that. It stayed more in the realm of abstract and expressionism. One fun fact is that Lasnik was the first female professor of painting in a German-speaking country.